Hey everybody, a couple weeks ago I went to visit the Andy Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh. I know it was a little bit of a nutty idea because nobody wants to go to Pittsburgh in the peak of the winter. At some point it was around minus 12, minus 13, minus 14, and these type of temperatures they can destroy anything. But I wasn't gonna let anything destroy or curb my enthusiasm in visiting that museum. I have always been obsessed with Warhol, maybe with the same intensity I was obsessed with Karl Lagerfeld or still am. And I couldn't wait to visit the museum. Let me just run this little vignette and we'll go through this, because if you love Warhol, you're gonna love what I have to say. The museum is home to more than 500,000 objects. The Warhol was a hoarder and he was always like stealing things and putting things in boxes and keeping things like for posterity. God knows for what reason. But they are the largest museum dedicated to a single artist and one of the biggest repositories of Andy Warhol art, archival, personal belongings, and anything that he ever found interesting or created himself. The museum has 8 floors and they suggest that you start your visit at the top and almost in a spiral manner you go around and you'll be able to see his work from the early 1940s all the way to the late 80s. And you go from one gallery to the next, experiencing pretty much everything he's ever done. They suggest that you start the visit at the top. The museum has 8 floors and work your way down. When you get to the 8th floor, you will see a bunch of drawings from the late 40s and you can see how technical these drawings are. They are nudes, they are collages, there are a multiple of different mediums of art that this guy was creating. There were little commercials for newspapers that he was making. Very interesting stuff. There is always a lot of things to read, a lot of letters and postcards and ephemera, And then you go to the 60s phase when he was painting the flowers, and then you go to the Americana phase that he was painting the Brillo boxes and the Coke bottles and the Campbell soups. And then you see the matinee idols in another gallery, and there will be, Liz Taylor, Elvis, Judy Garland. And there are so many videos, there are so many movies. I think that between 63 and 76, he made a lot of movies, and these movies were part of the Andy Warhol Foundation for the Visual Arts, but they had never been released. They were just there, archived. And at some point, I think that Warhol allowed the Whitney Museum to start restoring these images, and the museum does a very good job in digitalizing these images, so you can sit there in several monitors and just watch whatever you want for hours and hours. And there are several things. Not only the traditional Warhol movies like Sleep, Empire, Kiss, Blowjob, Chelsea Girls. These movies, they're all there. Women in Revolt. But it's the movie, the home movies, let's say, of the factory that fascinated me the most. The factory in the 60s, it was kind of a nut house, when you had like this people from the fringes of society that, it was kind of illegal to be gay at the time. And these people were like transvestites / superstars that he was using them on movies. They never really became super famous, but in their minds they were. So it's interesting to see so many interviews or audio recordings of everything that he was capturing. I think that the audiovisual part was one of the most fascinating things in the museum, and I wouldn't mind going back to the museum to spend like a couple more hours just digging through that. It was really fascinating, it really was. They had one gallery with the Ladies and Gentlemen series, which was one of the most profitable commissions that he ever worked on. And it was pretty much like a bunch of street transvestites / hookers that have been selected by Victor Hugo, Houston's boyfriend, to be photographed and then have portraits done of them. Who wouldn't want a portrait in the living room of a transsexual prostitute? I would. Nowadays, they're so valuable that it's not even funny. They had one gallery with the oxidation paintings or the piece paintings, in which he will paint them with metallic colors, copper, golden or silver, and then he will have most likely Victor Hugo come to the factory and piss on these paintings, and the urine would react with the paint and create this beautiful abstract work. They even have Basquiat oxidation paint that you can see that the urine splattered all over his face in kind of green, copperish color. And then what else? Oh, Basquiat, he has several collaborations with Warhol that Basquiat painted, Warhol painted on top, Basquiat covered, and all these things are there. And also the Last Supper. Anyway, there is so many things that you can see, that you can learn from your visit to the museum. And one of the funny things that I found out was that at some point Andy Warhol gave Stevie Wonder, the blind singer, a recording camera. And Stevie Wonder recorded some movies. Well, that's Warhol in a nutshell. I hope you find this video useful. Let me know in the comments below if you visited the museum, if you liked it, if you agree with any of my comments. Bye.